The last release that Zorgon Peterson put out was this, the Mamba. A slightly flawed ship from a technical perspective, but also an utterly beautiful ship. That was in the year 3304. Now, 6 years later, they're at it again, capitalising on the new SEO drives and trying their hand at a dedicated exploration ship. And this is the result. This is the Mandalay. This is also a ship that confuses me because as good as it looks, and it does look good, I can't help thinking that it looks like an oversized fighter rather than something you'd take on a long voyage. It looks like something you'd use for zooming in, emptying a plethora of missiles at an unsuspecting pirate and then boosting away before their buddies know what happened. You know, the entire selling product of the Mamba. But, as I said, this is a good looking ship, and the more you look at it, it does start to make sense as a ship for exploration. The landing thrusters can move about to help you set the ship down on the perfect spot, and the cockpit gives you a decent view under the ship to check for biologicals under your feet, and no, I'm not talking about your athlete's foot. In fact, speaking of the cockpit, the design language is similar to other Zorgon Peterson ships, and it's not really a surprise because this cockpit basically looks like it's been cut and pasted out of the Mamba. And I'm wondering if there's more than just a passing similarity here. Zorgon Peterson were once upon a time rumoured to be making a lighter, more agile version of the Mamba, with a working name of the Mamba Light. But given the similarities between the two cockpits, I'm wondering if the Mandalay is simply what the Mamba Light became once it left the drawing board. Just a thought more than anything. As for the ship overall, like how the Type 8 joined us and was immediately the best option for trading with a medium ship, the Mandalay looks like it's doing the same for exploration. The potential jump range is ridiculous, with over 90 light years being possible with a stripped down build. If I was a cynical person, I'd say this is to ensure that people hand over the coin to pick one up as soon as possible. It also handles well both inside and outside of Super Cruise, and if you're not maxing out the jump range, you can take all of the exploration equipment you'll need with a little bit of room for some additional cargo. And if you're into space photography, some angles of this ship look absolutely stunning. Although the undercarriage does detract from that a little bit. It makes the ship look like it ate too many pirates and stored all of the fat in the same place. It's decent on both fuel and thermals too if you're exploring in it. It's no dolphin for heat regulation, but under SEO the temperature is manageable even when using a A-rated FSD. Hell, actually, when using SEO the temperature control is downright fantastic compared to other ships. Even my combat Mandalay takes a while to get over 60% heat, and with a 32-ton fuel tank you can get a few decent jumps in before needing to top up. It feels like heresy to say this, especially given how many times I've said not to forget a fuel scoop, but my second Mandalay, the light combat one, that doesn't have a fuel scoop. I'm sure that will bite me in the ass one day, but for now it's managing 6+ long-range jumps without too much of an issue. But as we all know, with an exploration ship, a fuel scoop is a must, and you won't get very far without one. With the Mandalay, you can cram a size 6 fuel scoop into it, meaning that you can get a quick top up on those systems that don't really have a lot in them. Really, the only thing this ship is missing for exploration is the potential to add a fighter bay. But that's not an essential, that's a nicety. The only one of my exploration ships that does have a fighter bay is the Anaconda, and that's because the handling of the Anaconda is terrible at best. It's like stirring porridge. And sometimes it's nice when you're flying an Anaconda to hop into something a bit more agile to blow off a little bit of steam. So if you're not keeping up, I will sum up exploration in the Mandalay, and it's a shocker. A ship designed for exploration is actually pretty good at exploring. I bet you didn't see that one coming. If you want to use the Mandalay for other things, it's actually not bad for those either. It's not the best option in most cases, but it's not bad. For mining, you've got 4 medium hardpoints and 2 small, meaning that you're not short on space for mining hardpoints. And whilst there are better options in terms of cargo capacity, with your 140 plus tons of potential capacity, there's more than enough for a quick jaunt into an extraction site to kill a bit of time. Or if trading between stations is your bag, it's decent for some long-range rare goods hauling. Just don't expect to be turning in huge amounts over in high volume, low profit items with this ship. There is one aspect of this ship that did surprise me though. Its ability to defend itself and go on the attack. It doesn't have the huge hardpoint of the FTL or Mamba to play with, but with the 4 medium and 2 small in a reasonably good convergence, it does make things entertaining in a combat situation, especially if you run with fixed weapons. Couple that with the right modifications to the thrusters and appropriate reinforcements, and you end up with a decent enough ship for if you want to deal out a little bit of justice in the galaxy. If you pit this against the Crate Mark II, the armour hardness and base shields appear to be pretty much on par, and the Mandalay has superior agility out of the hangar. For a ship that appears initially to be about 17 million credits for the basic frame, that's some staggeringly good combat potential. Don't get me wrong, if we're talking about raw weapon output, a Crate Mark II is likely to put you in escape pod more often than not, but the Crate Mark II costs well over twice the number of credits. The relatively low mass lock factor of the Mandalay does also mean your opponent has a fair chance of getting away if they want to, but that's just another reason to target their frameshift drive first. Hell, going back to what I said about the agility and the convergence, I've turned mine basically into a railgun boat and I've never had a problem getting a shot on target with it. Don't get me wrong, there are more agile ships, but this ship will do just fine. I think it's fair to say that Zorgon Peterson have knocked it out the park with this one. So you'd think I'd make this my default exploration ship immediately, especially given its potential jump range and the fact that all of its internal slots are basically tailored for exploration. But for exploration, it's not this ship. It's not my Crate Phantom. And I'm not ready to mothball my default long-range exploration ship just yet, even if it's objectively inferior in a lot of ways. Because exploration is about finding a state of equilibrium with your ship, finding what works. If you plan on doing more than picking out a few close nebulae to explore, you're going to be in that cockpit for a while, and with the Mandalay, I need a bit more time to get to know it. It'll likely spend the next year or so as my short to medium range default exploration ship, but for anything that's a mega long distance, I'll still take my Phantom. And this is entirely subjective rather than objective, but every time I settle into the seat and climb into my Phantom, I know how the ship is going to react. I know its quirks, and in an unpredictable part of space you want a wholly predictable ship. And for me, despite the lower jump range, that's the Phantom in a nutshell. So while the Mandalay is absolutely fantastic for exploration, it's going to need an extended trial before taking it over to Beagle Point. As always, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I've mentioned the Crate Phantom a good chunk in this one, and it's likely to be the subject of the next review unless something happens. Until next time though, take care, much love, and 07. Thank you.